Welcome to Mike Brown Barbecue. Today we're going to talk about fire management on this 250-gallon offset smoker. Stay tuned. Step number one of fire management is knowing what kind of smoker you're using. I use a 250-gallon offset smoker. The things to consider in your fire management are the size of your firebox, size of your cook chamber, and the size of your stack coming out, your airflow. Reason being, when you've got a bigger firebox like this, you have more room for fire management. You can move your fire back toward the cook chamber, or you can move your fire closer to the door opening. Moving your fire further up to the front, you get more allowable space from your hot spot right here, more allowable cook chamber uh, cooking area. By moving it up, you get less cook area, your hot spot moves up. But if you've just got a little bit of meat right here in the front and you're toward the end of the cook and don't feel like putting logs on, you can move your fire up. There's all kind of things that you can do by that. And your firebox size is your number one factor. Number two really is your stack. If you don't have the right stack to go with your cooker, you do not get the right airflow out of it. This is a 6-inch stack on mine. I don't run a damper on it at all. I let it do its thing. It works out perfect. The dynamics of your smoker matters. My outlet on my smoke collector right here is the same size as my throat where my fire comes through from the firebox through the cooking chamber. That way it's pulling equal amount of air through there. That way I can regulate my temps. It's not too hot, it's not too cold. When I built the smoker, I did trial runs and I started out with my throat small and then worked my way up to where I liked it at. So, firebox size, your chamber size, and your stack size. This chamber right here is 84 inches long, roughly. Next up, we'll talk about the stack and the smoke collector. The smoke collector brings your hot spot out here to your stack, keeps it right there instead of versus right in here. And this is a 6-inch pipe right here that pulls my airflow through there. The dynamics of the smoker, everything runs exactly the way it needs to. This is the kind of stuff that you need to know before you start trying to figure out fire management on your smoker. Whether it's a cheap offset at home or if it's something custom built from one of the big name pit makers, it's what you need to know. So, all right, so we just got through talking about the smoker. Now we're going to talk about wood. Having good seasoned wood is a critical part to fire management. Me, I keep red oak on hand, but I've got numerous piles of wood on my property, uh, from water oak to live oak to red oak. I bought this cord right here from an individual who lived in a town over from me, and I paid $200 for a full cord, not a face cord, but a full cord back in February. It was advertised as seasoned wood, but when I got it here, I knew right off the bat it needed to dry out. So it's just now getting to where I could start using this stuff. When I was going through my wood, when I initially got it on my delivery, I went through it from heaviest to lightest. These are my heaviest pieces. I can pick this up right here, and it weighs a lot. That's my wood that's got more moisture in it. It's got anywhere from 30 to 25% moisture in it. Then I can come right here and grab this split. It's about the same size, and it's light. That's probably about 25 to 15% moisture, somewhere in there. So I separated it all. I burn different woods during different stages of the cook for different meats. As y'all know, y'all watch my videos and how I manage my fire. Having this good wood is the start to being successful for fire management. Some people like kiln dried wood. Some people like drier wood. Some people like wetter wood. It just depends on what you like and what you can get in your area. I'm blessed here in Southeast Texas. It ain't hard for me to find wood. I'm looking on Facebook Marketplace all the time and getting free wood all the time. But I've got another little spot up here in town that when things get real rough, it's called American Firewood in Kirbyville. I'll go there and he'll hook me up, and it's good quality wood. You can go in there, you can get post oak, red oak, and then they sell mixed oak, which is a little bit cheaper, but you get a little bit of everything. But having good wood makes you successful at fire management. If you don't have good wood, you're not going to be successful with fire management. That's just how it is. We've gone over the wood here. Let's go start us a fire. The next step of your fire management is to get a proper coal bed. I'm going to do this the easy way and go with some lump charcoal to start with. And then we're going to put on some dry wood just to get our fire going. I just dug some dry wood out of my old ugly dry stack. It's going to go up on here just like this. I got one piece from yesterday that didn't burn up real good. Put him right there in the middle. And then some more ugly pieces to go up on top of that. And then two thin pieces go up top, and that'll kind of jump start everything for you. The key to proper fire management is to start out with a good coal base. If you don't have a good coal base to start out with, the first few hours of your cook, you're going to fight it. So we'll let this burn down the coals, then we'll come right back. Y'all stay tuned, folks. So we got our coal bed burnt down. You can see it's completely gone. The next step is to break your coal bed up. Gotta clean out the front, throw it up on the sides. What I like to do is move my coal bed up in the first part of a cook, and I didn't just start a fire to start a fire today. We actually are going to cook a rack of ribs to go with this. So what I like to start with is dense, thick pieces of log to go up on there to start with. Put one right there. And one right there. Pick this little coal up that got away from us. Clean the front of your coal bed out. Cleaning the front of your coal bed out right here in the front, it allows for proper airflow. Starting out with dense logs. Putting on here. One, to get more burn time. And two, to throw the kind of smoke that I want to put up on my meat. You can see that's starting to take off. Those are dense logs. I didn't do a precise reading on them. They're probably about 28, 30% moisture. This will give me the dense smoke that I like in my cook. I've already got the spare ribs on, but this video is not about the spare ribs, it's about the fire management. So what you want to do is just give that just a second and let it catch. When it starts to take off, then you want to close it down. I can probably get about 2.5 hours out of that. There's a bunch of other stuff I want to show you in this burn down right here that I probably haven't showed you in other videos. So that's taken off to my liking. I like to take my firebox door, use your shovel so it don't burn you, and close it down to about 3/4 to an inch cracked. And that's where the advantage of having that stack up there comes in, and starts pulling air through there. Keeps your fire going. As you can see, that's what's coming out of my stack up there. That kind of smoke right there, it is dirty smoke, but it's good to flavor your meat up front on your cook. That will clear up in about 30 minutes, and it'll get clear, and it'll start burning cleaner. A little bit of dirty. If I went the whole time with that kind of fire, then yeah, my meat would probably be ruined. But going up front with that kind of smoke right there is not going to hurt nothing. And I'll bring y'all over here to my temp gauge. As you can see, I'm already sitting right where I want to sit at, 275. Tap that gauge, and it is right there with that firebox cracked where it's at. This will stay right where I want it to. If it does happen to jump up a little bit, I'll just close my door down a little bit more. But that's the only gauge I go by. That gauge over there is nice, but it's just a guide. This is the gauge I go by the whole cook chamber. And as you can see, That smoke coming out of there is real nice. That's the kind of smoke I want up front of my cook. So I'll bring you guys back here in a little bit and show you some tricks when my wood starts getting burnt down a little bit more in between managing fires. Alright guys, we're at our 1 hour update. I just wanted to show you I'm still holding at 275. And it's jumping up just a hair. I don't know if you can see that it moved up. That tends to happen when your fire starts cleaning up and that greener wood starts drying out. Your temps start to jump up. You just got to control that at your firebox door. And as you can see, we're still running a fairly dirty smoke an hour in. It has cleaned up somewhat just the last time I brought you guys back. But I'll bring y'all back here to the firebox and show you how low and slow this fire is. We still got our firebox door cracked. I'm gonna open this up just for a little bit and you can see how that's burning right there. That's real low and slow. This is an hour in. Our logs have hardly burnt up. They're burning really slow. That's what you want on your fire management. I'll go ahead and show you a few tricks. So if I wanted to get less heat, I'd come in here and I'd space my logs further out. And that would create less friction. I'll close this door down. Back down to where it's at. Give it a minute to settle in. I did that because my temps were jumping up a little bit. By spreading your fire out, you create less friction and you burn even slower than what you were doing. And we'll come back over here to our temp gauge. So coming back and looking at the temp gauge, we did jump up at temp a little bit, but I spread my fire further out. And now we're back about where we need to be at on our 275 mark. That's what you do when you start getting too hot. Space your logs out and create less friction. The closer you have them together, the hotter they'll burn. The further apart, the slower they'll burn. So that's settling back in at 275. What I'm going to do now is I'm down to 275. I'm going to go back over here and adjust my firebox door a little bit. That's how far I've got it. I'm just going to crack it open a little bit more. I'll be about right there, and that will be perfect to run the temps that I need to run for the next hour. I'll keep an eye on this and we'll see where it goes from there. So we're going to leave our firebox door about right there. As you can see, we're pumping out a little bit cleaner smoke than we were. It's because these logs are starting to burn down and dry out. So this was at the 1 hour mark. I'll bring you guys back here in a little bit when I run into another situation of when my temps start to drop because my spacing's too far apart. When that time comes, I'll bring you to it. Alright, so even though I did space my logs out, 15 minutes later, my fire jumped up on me again. So now it's holding steady at 300. There ain't nothing wrong with this when you're running a low and slow fire. It won't hurt nothing. But I'll show you a little trick to combat this too if you're just that paranoid about being on a set temp. Alright, so we'll take a look at our fire here. And oh, damn it. What we're going to do is come in here and bury our channel logs further down into the coals. We'll get this guy back up right here. We'll get this guy back up and we'll take our channel logs and bury them. Bury them down into the coals where they'll where they won't ignite as easy, and we'll close that back down. We'll close that back down to about a half an inch or so. Let that fire settle down, and we'll come back over here to the temp gauge. Alright, we're back here at the temp gauge. It did jump up just a hair from having the firebox open and everything hurried up and ignited, but we got it closed down, and we'll watch it for a little bit, and I'll show you that this comes down fairly easy. You can see it's starting to drop. It could take it 2 to 3 minutes, sometimes 5 minutes to drop back down to temp. With the weather being hotter as it is right now, and that firebox back there being as thick as it is, It don't take much to keep this pin up, this tip up in the 275, 300 range. It's actually been a lot more difficult since it got hotter to do that. This thing wants to run hot. So I've been working on getting everything slowed down, and I figured it out. That's why I'm making this video today. And like I said, there ain't nothing wrong with running at 300. Yeah, my set temp was 275, but there ain't nothing wrong with going a little bit hotter. It just means you cook faster. As long as you don't have a wildfire back there and you got a low and slow fire, you'll be just fine. As you can see, it's starting to come down now. I don't know if it'll go down any lower than that. It's probably just where it's gonna settle in at. The needle's not jumping no more. So that's about 285 where it's gonna settle in with that. And I'm good with that. That ain't gonna hurt nothing. We'll take a look at the smoke coming out of the smokestack, and as you can see, it's nice, cleaner smoke coming out of there. So that means our wood's burning real good. Here in about 30 minutes, we'll have to manage that fire. That stuff will be gone. So even when my logs are spaced out too far and I'm still burning a hotter fire than I want, then I'll go ahead and bury those channel logs down in the ashes, and that'll make it harder for it to burn, not as much airflow around it. So I'll bring you guys back here in a little bit. Stay tuned. All right, so we're right at the 2-hour mark, and our temp is right at 275, but it's dropping. So that tells me we need to go ahead and manage the fire down. We got a good run out of that setup, but it's time to go on with our next setup. All right, we're back here at the firebox. Let's open it up, see what we got. You can see everything is burnt down and about gone. A disclaimer to this, as you can get away with this on a big offset, but you're replenishing your coal bed as you put each setup on there. This is how I run my fire for the summertime. When it comes to the wintertime, it's a little bit different, a little bit harder to keep temps. But I won't drop off my target temp of 275 too much by doing this, because all I'm doing is basically burning down a new coal bed every time. Smash everything down real good. Don't stir it up too much. And don't stir it up too much and get a bunch of ash in your cook tamer. I'm gonna go ahead and scoop things up a little bit. Take my shovel down in there and make a few little ridges. Clean the front of this out just a little bit. And we'll go on with our next logs. The next logs are another set of dense logs to get that optimal smoke flavor that I'm wanting. And we're gonna go far apart on our spacing on these because of how hot this coal bed is. Really don't need it close together. And that's about what we're gonna do on it, just like that. As you can see, it's taking right off. I like to open this up for a minute and let it catch real good, and then we'll close it down. Maintain temps. Another pro tip is to keep your fire bed, keep your coal bed cleaned out in the front so you can get airflow. I always throw it up on the sides. Throw it up on the sides right there. So that's taken off. I'm gonna go ahead and close this down about an inch. Let it do its thing. We just closed the firebox door, and that's what kind of dense smoke we're getting. You will get that for a little bit. It ain't nothing to worry about. That fire will clean up pretty quick. So let's get on over here to the temp gauge, and I'll give you a live look in at how fast this temp comes up. All right, we're back at our temp gauge. We didn't drop too far off our target temp. It looks like we're about 265, 270. And just like that, we're just about back up to 275. And you got to kind of watch it right here at this stage, because this is where a fire can get away from you. real easy. You may have to close it down a little bit more or open it up a little bit more. In this case, I believe I'm going to have to close it down a little bit more and let it do its thing. But most of the time, this thing will jump up to about 285 and then settle back down to 275 as it burns. I've got the log spaced far enough away where it won't be erratic. It'll burn low and slow. And I learned that in my first setup. Not one fire burns the same as the other fire. They all burn different. Based on how my last setup burnt, I know that I can go with wide spacing pretty much the whole time with dense logs and maintain this temp. As I get further on in the cook, I'll start burning drier logs and to change everything, I'll run a little bit different of a fire. But right now, I've still got my dense logs on because I'm 2 hours into this rib cook, and this is where I want to run at. You can see we're starting to jump up a little bit more. So I'll go back over here to the firebox. And I'll close this down to about a ½ inch. And we'll go back to the temp gauge and we'll see what that did. All right, we're back at the temp gauge. I closed the fire down a little bit. And as you can see, it jumped down to 275. And looking at our stack, that's good smoke right there. It's a clean smoke. Still a little dense, but that's perfect for this point in the cook and flavoring our meat. So I'm going to let this burn down for a little while, guys, and I'll bring you back when I get to my next situation on the fire. So, all right, guys, so kind of got myself in the situation, not paying attention to my fire. Happens to the best of us. My temp has dropped to 250. It hasn't been here very long. About an hour after we put our last wood on, and this will be the last part that I shoot. I'm fixing to run out of daylight. But we're going to go back here and I'll show you what we're going to do to get our temps back up. All right, we'll open up our firebox. Let's check it out. So we're still burning, but we need to tighten this fire up. So we'll come in here, move this channel log over, and we'll move this channel log over. Just like that. And as you can see, it's already going up in flames. And tighten these two logs back up here. And we'll go to our temp gauge. We'll shut this back down because it's getting wild. We'll come back to our temp gauge. And as you can see, just from me walking back to the firebox and setting up over here, our temp has jumped up a quick 25 degrees and still rising. That's how you get your temps up if you want them to be up even higher. Now we'll go back to the firebox and I'll show you something else. There's something that somebody said on YouTube the other day, and I'm gonna mention no names. It said if you wanted to close your air gap completely up, that it would kill your fire. I just wanted to show you guys that that's not necessarily true. So we'll shut our two bottom channel logs completely shut and see if this theory proves true. So our channel logs are completely shut. There's no air gap between there. We'll close this fire back down and we'll see what happens after that. All right, even after closing our channel logs all the way up, I've let it go for about 3 minutes, 4 minutes, and our temp is steadily rising. So closing your channel logs up does not kill the airflow on your fire. Friction works when things get closer together and get hotter. That's not a way to close the air down to your fire. That will not work. That is going to make your temp rise up more than anything. And it's still rising. And I'll bring you back here and show you what kind of fire that has now created for me. All right, let's open it up and investigate and see what we got. So by moving these two channel logs closer together, all that did was create a wildfire for me. Everything's out of control, so now we've got to fix this. So we'll scoot the front log, this log right here, back. Scoot that one a little bit further back. And open up the fire to our channel logs back in there. To create less friction and get our fire down. Just like that. Now we've got everything opened back up, and we'll close it down to about 1 inch and let our temp come back down. We'll bring you to the gauge and show you. And as you can see, my fire jumped all the way up to almost 350 with those channel logs being like they were. Now we've got everything spaced back out and it's going to start coming down. We're coming back down now. You can see the temp starting to drop as we spread everything out. It'll take it anywhere from 5 to about 5 minutes to come back down off that temp and get set where we was at. Yeah, just putting them logs closer together will not kill airflow. That will definitely make your fire burn way hotter. You can see these temps are dropping. It should drop down to about 285, 275 range and hold true right there. All right, folks, a few minutes later, this is where our temp settled in at. So I'm gonna keep it right there. I'm good with that. We'll go back here and I'll show you how low and slow this fire is. That's what the low and slow fire looks like, folks. We're not gonna keep it open too long because it'll get wild with the wood spacing out. My channel logs don't have much life left in them. But this will be the last tip I give you guys on fire management. It's how you want your fire to burn right here, just like this, low and slow. Alright guys, so that's my tips, tricks, and processes for fire management on this 250-gallon smoker. I will say disclaimer, every smoker's different. It's just the way I do it on my smoker. That's my thought process on it. It's what I do, what I've learned to do since I've built this smoker. But the basics of everything that I showed you in there, you can do on any smoker. When it's burying your channel log down in the coal bed to get your fire to slow down a little bit, moving your splits closer together to get hotter, moving your splits further apart. To get a lower fire and slow things down, you can do that just about on any smoker. So I hope you guys like this video. Maybe y'all can use some of this stuff. If you did like it, please like and subscribe. See you guys on the next cook. Thanks for watching.